I just wanted to start off by saying congrats to whoever is trying to get into sourdough making. It can seem very intimidating, but I promise you it is a lot easier than it seems. So first thing for this recipe is you're gonna need 200 grams of ripe sourdough starter. So last night I went ahead and I took 25 grams of my starter, 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water, just mix that all together, and then I just let that sit overnight. It has been about 11 hours since I fed my starter. It has doubled in size, is super bubbly and active, so we are ready to bake. If you do not have a scale, I would recommend getting one. It just makes it a lot more accurate when you're baking. So first thing we're gonna do is 310 grams of lukewarm room temp water, 200 grams of our ripe sourdough starter. One way you can tell if it is ready is that it'll float in the water. And I like to mix in the starter with the water first. That way it just gets incorporated really well. It is very sticky, so sometimes it's hard to get it to mix together. And if you're somebody who is struggling with getting your starter to be ripe and active, maybe you're just starting out with it, what I did was I just bought a freeze-dried starter on Etsy, actually. Super easy. Just rehydrated it when I got it, and then it was ready to bake. Now I've had it for almost 2 years now. Next, I like to mix in my salt. This recipe calls for 12 grams of salt. And I like to mix that in next, dissolve it into the water in the starter. So next up is our flour. We're gonna do 400 grams of just you can do all-purpose flour, bread flour. I personally like organic, high-protein flour. Ballerina Farm is local here in Utah, so I love to support them. And then last thing is 50 grams of whole wheat flour. I use einkorn flour. Don't even know if I say that right, but sometimes it is just a lot easier to use your hands. So what I'll do is I'll just wet my hand a little bit and then kind of just mash it all together until it forms just a shaggy ball. It doesn't need to be anything special. If I can make sourdough bread, anybody can. It's actually a lot more simple than people make it out to be. It doesn't need to be this super complicated process. Most of the time it takes for making a sourdough is just waiting for it to ferment. So it's really not too bad. Just cover it up. Just use anything to cover it up, really, as long as it's airtight. I'll usually use some plastic wrap and then I'll throw the towel on top. We'll just stick it in the oven with the light on. That way it's just in a warm place while it's fermenting. And we're gonna wait 30 minutes until we do our stretch and folds. All right, a little over 30 minutes. I just went and walked the dogs, so it took a little bit longer, but sourdough making process isn't perfect, so who cares? Pull one side up. And then just fold it over. And we'll do that to every side, like so. And we're just gonna cover it up again, another 30 minutes in the oven. Now you guys, you do not want to skip your stretch and folds. This is the most important part of the bread making process. Stretch and folds is key because it builds the gluten strength in the bread. During the fermentation process, your starter is producing carbon dioxide, and that's going to give you these gas bubbles inside of the bread. So this is going to help distribute those gas bubbles evenly as well. And as you can tell, even just after our second set of stretch and folds, our gluten strength is a lot stronger. See how now it's holding its shape? This is exactly what we want to be seeing. Back in our slightly warm oven for another 30 minutes. A little side note, guys, if you are intimidated on the sourdough bread making process because of the starter, I promise you it is a lot more low maintenance and less work than people make it out to be. For my starter, I just leave it in the fridge for weeks on end and you don't need to feed it. My advice is just plan around when you want to bake your bread. For example, I pulled this out of the fridge a couple days ago. I let it get to room temperature and then I just fed it, so now it's activated. And then last night, since I want to bake my bread today, last night I went ahead and took some of it and I fed it the proper proportions of flour and water to the recipe that I am making today. All right, on to our last set of stretch and folds. That stretch and fold is done. We'll just place it back in the warm oven for 2 hours for the bulk fermentation process. All right, there's only a couple more minutes left on our timer, so I'm gonna get our proofing basket ready. If you don't have one of these, I believe I just got mine on Amazon for, I think 20 bucks, I would say. So just lightly flour it so our loaf doesn't stick. 2 hours is up. Your dough should be almost doubled in size. And you should see some gas bubbles starting to form as well. I'll just brush off any excess flour. A lot of people overthink this step. Just have fun with it. Just gonna fold it over once right here and then both sides. So. And I am no expert at this, guys, so I'm just gonna do my best. I'm just gonna roll it up into a ball. And then we are gonna plop this in. Seam side facing up. And we're just gonna cover it and wait another hour. In this stage, you do have the option to just throw it in the fridge and let it proof overnight if you're wanting to bake it tomorrow. But this recipe is perfect for same day baking if your time frame maybe is a little bit shorter. It's only 1 o'clock. I started this around 8:30 this morning and it will be ready by dinner time. So it's the most convenient recipe that I have found that works for me. Okay, so it has been an hour, so I'm gonna start preheating our oven. We're going up to 485. And just make sure your Dutch oven is in the oven. While it's preheating, you want to slowly heat up the Dutch oven or else the enamel can crack if it's shocked, if it goes from cold straight to a 400-degree oven. The oven is heated up to temp, so I'm going to score our dough now. For the scoring, we can just keep it pretty simple. I always like to do one down the middle, just a quick, not too deep. And do one straight. It's like, see, mine's not perfect, so. Pop this into our heated Dutch oven. If you want, you can grab a couple of ice cubes. Just put it right under the parchment paper. This will create steam. In the oven it goes, still at 485 for 18 minutes. Okay, 18 minutes is up. We'll turn down our oven to 450. And then we're gonna take the lid off of it, put it back in the oven. And 20 minutes. And it's more like 20 to 25 minutes, just depends on how crunchy you want your exterior. So we'll do 23 minutes. A little advice, I would check it about halfway through the 20 to 25 minute mark just to see how it looks. sometimes the edges can get a little too brown, even burnt. They're kind of starting to get burnt right here. Almost, you can take a little bit of tin foil like this. Simply just cover those edges up. Keep them from burning. And back in we go. All right, I just decided to go with the 25 minutes to get it a bit crispier. Let's see how it looks. All right, and there you have it, guys. I've been making sourdough for a little bit over 2 years now, and it is still so satisfying to see how your loaf turns out. And even if your first loaf turns out underproofed or overproofed, you can still eat it and it's still gonna be good. And if you made it to the end of this video, I just wanna say thank you so much for watching. And I promise you, sourdough making is not very hard. If I can do it, you can do it too.